So I'm here this evening with David Coonan talking about this beautiful piece that he's writing, Sonetos al amor, oscuro, based on the sonnets of the same name by Federico García Lorca, which was actually commissioned by Viva Musicale for the Irish Arts Council commission that we got. So it's really interesting because this piece is to serve as a companion piece for Messiaen's Quatuor pour la fin de temps, which everyone knows. So, David, just to introduce us all to your work in this piece, Sonnets of Dark Love, can you just give us an overview of what this piece is? What are the sonnets?
They are 11 sonnets written towards the end of Lorca's life. I think it's like this is the last year of his life, and they are sonnets about a love affair he had, and it was only very recently come to light who the love affair was with, and you can find it online. But it's the darkness of it is to do with the fact that it was a gay love affair, and which during Lorca's lifetime was
kind of a big deal.
Well, or so we, yes, a big, problematic is what it was, and also it had to, I think, sort of a dual aspect of the sort of the darkness of it had to do with, it was a sort of unrequited love that he had for this man. And so there's a kind of an intense sort of kind of like pain
because of the unrequited nature of the love.
And also I think so you can kind of even just like gloss it in the titles, like one of them is called Wounds of Love, Nights of Sleepless Love is another. It's another name of the poem.
Just that the nature of the titles are also dark and kind of painful.
Sorry, yeah, they kind of underscore the painful aspect of this, of the feeling behind the poems.
All right, so let's jump right in.
Yeah.
What is the impetus behind these poems?
There's a connection that I kind of make in my own head, which might seem a little abstract, between the Messiaen and the Lorca poems, and that is the idea that this kind of pain stemming from the sort of unrequited love aspect, there's an intensity to it that kind of makes you feel very present in the moment, or I think it makes him feel very present in the moment, and the language is really present.
Okay.
Like it's like if you this is from Soneto or the Sonnet of the Garland of the Roses, which I'll read the English translation because I'm not really that well. I have, my Spanish is a bit rusty. There's lots of exclamations. That garland, hurry, for I'm dying. Weave quickly, sing, moan, sing. There's a lot of very urgent, immediate, present feelings, and those. I think that stems from the acuity with which he felt that kind of pain.
Right.
And it's. I should just also giant health warning. I'm trying to talk about a bunch of things that I don't always, or that, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think in English sentences over.
Right. Let's preface.
These are a lot of abstract ideas, and
he's trying to put words to musical expressions.
Yes.
So it's fine.
That's our grand lofty thing for the day, or for the night. But what connects is that kind of presentness, kind of, it's the theory of relativity thing that, that kind of presentness where a second can feel like a lifetime.
Right.
And I think there's a connect between that sort of feeling and the feelings of sort of eternity and infinity that you get in some of the movements of Messiaen's.
The
And so for
Messiaen's
me,
piece.
there's like a strong connection between some of the sort of musical. Well, I don't know if we want to say ideas, but like the kind of the musical language and material of the Messiaen and Lorca's poems.
Well, it's important to note that the Messiaen was written under some very extreme circumstances, with the composer Messiaen being in a prisoner of war camp at the end of World War II.
Yeah.
So that adds to the depth of the Messiaen's, work. So moving right along.
I should make it clear that I have gone through in detail one of the songs that is written out pretty much in full detail with Bergie earlier on, which is actually a combination of two of the poems.
Okay.
So it is the one about the enchanted city, which is titled, I'll pronounce it in Italian for you now, once I find it.
Italian.
El poeta pregunta a su amor por la ciudad encantada de Cuenca, which is the poet asks his love about the enchanted city of Cuenca. And the other one is the poet asks his love to write him, which I can't remember where.
Is the one we did earlier.
Yeah. So this is a combination of the two of them.
All right. Just for those.
A song that will be titled "The Poet Asks His Love."
Okay, so for these poems, where do you see them going? Where do you see this one song, this one movement headed? Where is it going? Because right now it's very ethereal, if I can say, and kind of in the nature of like a jewel box.
It's a sort of, there's a kind of, it's a quite a minimalist piece on the, like from, it's like one of those things that from a distance looks like it's quite flat, but when you get close to it, there's a lot of detail that's constantly changing, and no one bar is the same, even though that it sounds like it's the same thing, because there's this constant repeating bell sound in the piano part that's happening, similar to some of the things that happen in the Messiaen, the last movement of the Messiaen, or the last piece of his quartet. But yeah, this is a pretty self-contained song. I know this one is definitely going to be at the end.
Okay. Is it going to continue as we've heard it so far, which is very atmospheric and, like we said earlier, it has this quality of eternity and eternal and timelessness. Is it going to continue in that vein, or do you see it going somewhere else?
There's this very constant bell which marks out the pulse, which will stay constant right through the end. Harmonically, it will shift sort of slightly. Is that interesting?
I think it's interesting. Do you think it's interesting?
Well, it's interesting to listen to, maybe.
Okay. So we're dealing with these two texts. The first one from La Ciudad Encantada de Cuenca. How do we see these texts being related to the music, or the music relating back to Lorca's text?
Well, and it's weird, because in a few of them that I've, some are planned to be atmospheres that contextualize the poems afresh, is that the music renders the sentiment and the feeling of the poems in a slightly different way.
Okay. So, for example, we have El poeta pide a su amor que le escribí. The poet,
it's not direct, sort of.
Right. It's not programmatic in the sense that it's text painting and that sort of thing.
Yeah, no.
No, but
it's much more atmospheric.
Okay. How do you, as the composer of this piece, capture this sense of timelessness, this sense of eternity in your writing for this particular movement?
Again, this is the kind of question that, like, I can show it to you a lot more easily than I could.
Would you like to hop on the piano and show it? No piano.
There's a whole load of things.
Well, you talked about
harmonically, there's like a lot of sort of diatonic chords, but it's not tonal in the sense that it has a fixed center. In fact, the center, if you will, is forever floating and going around in different ways. So, the kind of the how would you say it, like the sort of the kind of harmonic language that is itself not grounded at all. It sort of seems
it kind of continues
float all the time.
It never has an end point.
And at that point, yeah, and in that sense, it's sort of analogous to the kind of timelessness. And then the other thing is just to have a very simple pulse that isn't metered at all, but that, you know, and that's this bell thing that's happening in the piano. And then what's happening in the other instruments is that there's lots of different sort of meters going against each other. So the effect is that you have these quite nice sort of expressive lines that just seem to float in different directions, but aren't grounded.
Right. So they don't really have a start or an end in terms of this sense of this is the beginning, the middle, and then it's something that kind of progressed from the beginning. It just something that we kind of, as listeners, are exposed to, not knowing whether we're at the beginning or the end of it or the middle of it. It's just kind of something that's been going on forever and could continue going on even up until we're finished.
That's a nice image, yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of the image I got when I first listened to it, which you'll have to come here live. But it's kind of like I was given permission to another dimension where I just kind of listened in to what was going on in the middle of a conversation, perhaps, and not knowing if I'm at the beginning, the middle, or the end of the conversation. And it's something that you're tapped out of that continues without the listener. And so it's that question, like, if there's no one in the woods, if a tree falls in the woods and no one's there to hear it, does it make a sound? It's kind of that, is this music continuing to make a sound after we're not there to hear it? And the answer is yes, it's timeless, it's eternal. So why timeless? Why do we want to capture this feeling of timelessness, this feeling of eternity?
I can only go back to what I was saying to you earlier about the sort of immediacy of, like,
the hurt, the pain,
making, you know, it's that kind of sort of theory of relativity moment, you know, what was it your man said? If you sit in a hot stove for a second, it'll feel like an eternity.
So it's just this present, being very present in the moment, in the music. How pain can cause you to be very aware of that moment in time. Yeah. And having had my heart broken, I can tell you it's very true. Like you agonize over that lost love and these days that seem to drag on forever. And when you think you've gotten over it, something reminds you, it brings you right back down to that very present realization of your humanity, your fragility.
Yeah. Well, he does it very beautifully in these poems.
And he does. And do you mind if I just read like a little excerpt from Spanish and English?
I'll tell you which one you should read.
Let me read something for y'all. Because I like to read.
Read.
Noches del amor insomne. Noche arriba los dos, con luna llena. Yo me puse a llorar y tú reías. Tu desdén era un dios. Las quejas mías, momentos y palomas en cadena. Night up, we two with the full moon. I began to cry and you were laughing. Your disdain was a god. My complaints, moments, and doves in a chain. Powerful, such powerful images, like doves in a chain. Like the imagery is very beautiful. This idea of like this symbol of freedom and peace, even of the dove, and then trapped in pain. Noches del amor insomne, like basically sleepless nights of love, night of sleepless love. My gosh, it's very beautiful, these images. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it. Thank you so much, Abe, for staying up this late with me. It's like 2 a.m. We're in Dublin. Thanks for staying up with me and chatting about the
dark outside.
It's dark, and the boogeyman's gonna get us. Thanks, David. Talk to you guys later.